We're joined now by one of the senators at the hearing yesterday, Bob Menendez of New Jersey. And it's a pretty extraordinary sight, Senator, yesterday. Those companies blaming each other. You were tough on them for that, but which of them is ultimately to blame?
Well, it seems to me they all have liability at the end of the day. You know, BP as the ultimate operator, Transocean as the rig and drilling entity, and then Halliburton in the cement context. But you know, what we saw at George yesterday was all of the finger pointing, all of the blame game, and really no taking of responsibility. And that's why I believe so strongly that my legislation to raise the liability cap from $75 million to $10 billion is essential, so we don't leave commercial fishermen, shrimp fishermen, fisheries, coastal communities, and everybody else is going to be affected by this.
Do you have the votes for that now?
I'm sorry?
Do you have the votes for that legislation now?
I believe we will. It's moving quickly in the House. We had a hearing as part of the hearings yesterday. The Environment and Public Works Committee had me testify on it. I think we're going to move it there, and so I think we're going to be able to get that done.
But how about the federal government? There's plenty of evidence also that the regulators were letting the oil companies largely police themselves, and that's one of the reasons that President Obama has now announced that he's going to split up the agency that collects the royalties from this drilling from the one that's enforcing the environmental regulations. Were the regulators asleep at the switch as well?
Well, you know, we're going to have to find that out, too. I've always said you can't be the coach and referee. In Minerals Mine Services, that part of the Department of the Interior that deals with oil leasing, it just seems to me you can't be an advocate for the industry and at the same time make sure that safety and all the regulations are lived up to. I'm glad to see the Secretary Salazar is going to divide them up, and I think we need a more robust regulatory regime to make sure that the safeguards that are supposedly in there work. You know, this blowout protector had supposedly about a dozen different safety options that should have all worked. None of them worked, and so we've seen that there's no such thing as too safe not to spill.
Are you satisfied now that the federal government is doing everything it can to get this under control? And what are the prospects for success?
Well, I think that the federal government has worked quickly from the very first day of the spill, and the president's administration did a great job getting out there. Ultimately, BP is the one that has to work on containing this. And one of the questions I raised yesterday that we have to look at moving forward is they said when they filed for this lease that they had a plan B for the most catastrophic possibilities. Well, we've seen the most catastrophic possibilities, and it seems to me like they're frailing around, going from one thing to another, not really knowing what in fact is necessary to stop this, short of that relief well that will just take way too long. Before we permit any more deep drilling permits, we've got to make sure that we have the worst case scenario possibilities to make sure that there is a response to it. And we've got to rethink about offshore drilling off those coasts that already are not subject to drilling, like in my home state of New Jersey.
I wish we had more time to get into that, but we're out of time for this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.